National Consumer Commission is urging consumers in possession of the Dark and Lovely Precise Diamond Straight and Shine Relaxer 125 milliliter tub, batch number 87UD00 and 87UD01 to immediately discontinue the use of the product and return it to the point of sale for a full refund. This after an incident in the production led to an imbalance of the active raw materials. Now, using the recalled product may lead to increased hair breakage and increased scalp irritation. The manufacturer of Dark and Lovely, L'Oreal, informed the Commission of the recall of the product following 22 complaints from consumers. So for more on this, we join on the line by Prudence Moilwa, who is the head of enforcement and investigations at the National Consumer Commission. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Prudence. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers.
So very concerning, but when was the problem first picked up?
In terms of the information that L'Oreal has given us, the problem started at the beginning of April when they started getting a lot of complaints. I think about 22 complaints from consumers who were having adverse experiences with the product where there was increased hair breakage and hair loss. So that then they decided to just do a bit of an investigation, and they found out that there was a problem with the measurements when some of the ingredients of this product were being poured in, and there was an overpouring of certain chemicals that are part of the ingredients of this product.
So do we know at this stage, Prudence, how many units were actually sold of the suspected dispatch batch that is problematic?
Yeah, the information that L'Oreal gave us is that there were about 50,000 units of this product that is still in plus that of the 50,000, some of them had been quarantined because they informed their suppliers or the retailers that they supplied to, especially the big ones, to not on-sell it to consumers. But it is suspected that around 50,000 units were in the marketplace, and some have been bought by consumers already.
So just in terms of those consumer complaints again, Prudence, in terms of this particular batch that they have suffered, can we just go over what consumers have been saying and what exactly seems to be wrong and why people should really take this seriously and return the products in question?
Yeah. In terms of the information that L'Oreal shared with us, it's that the consumers were complaining of irritation to the scalp as well as hair breakage. So those 22 consumers were complaining that there was more than usual hair breakage as well as the irritation to the scalp. And there is a possibility of also hair loss when consumers use this product, hence the recall itself.
And just in terms of any safeguards within the system, regulations, do these consumers have any recourse at all, those who have already suffered damage?
Yes, of course. The Consumer Protection Act actually is the one that gives guidance to how consumers need to be treated. When we had a meeting with L'Oreal on Friday, we impressed upon them, and of course they had already started in terms of their communication to say that consumers are entitled to a refund, whether or not they had started using the product or the product has been opened. They also informed, from our discussions, we also agreed that where consumers experience, especially damage to the scalp as well as excessive hair breakage, there will be interventions like L'Oreal would also be able to intervene and ensure that consumers get help of maybe seeing a dermatologist and stuff like that. So whatever the appropriate recourse in order for consumers to be treated fairly in terms of the Consumer Protection Act, L'Oreal is under an obligation also in terms of the Consumer Protection Act to give consumers those kind of recourse where there is, especially as I said, excessive hair loss or even hair loss itself, for them to assist consumers appropriately to put them in a position they would have been had they not used the products.
And that's a tricky one, isn't it, Prudence? Because how do you put me in a position that I was in previously if my hair's broken off?
Look, there were other interventions that we discussed. Obviously, it would have already happened. We're looking at also where consumers are comfortable with taking the option of a wig, for example, of their choice in the event where there is hair loss. And of course, I think in terms of the Consumer Protection Act, where the consumer would want to have a financial sort of compensation, the Act also still makes provision for that as well. To say that if, for example, a consumer would say that I was unable to do certain jobs because of the hair loss, if they're able to prove such, the Consumer Protection Act is also, extends the protection of consumers to that kind of loss as well.
But does it have to be tied into something like a job? What about the fact that as a woman, this is my pride and joy, and therefore you've now stripped me of that because of a faulty product? Is that not reason enough for someone to feel aggrieved and to lodge a complaint?
It certainly is. Each case will be treated according to its own merits. And that is why we're saying that the conversation with consumers, especially between L'Oreal and the consumer, and well, of course, the commission also overseeing the whole process, would be to ensure that the consumers get appropriate redress. It certainly would not just end with them getting a refund for the product that they've bought, but we will obviously have to look at what the consumer is saying, look at the kind of loss that they say that they've suffered, and also try to work with L'Oreal. And indeed, I must say that from our discussion, it does look like they're a company willing to assist consumers with regard to whatever redress that they would, in each circumstance, would be required.
And thanks so much for your time this morning, Prudence Moilwa, who's Head of Enforcement and Investigations at the National Consumer Commission, updating us on the recall of a Dark and Lovely Precise Diamond Straight and Shine Relaxer. That's the 125 milliliter tub. And now, while L'Oreal's